Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Kuntres and maamer started by giving tzedakah, gedol tzedakah, shmekeret agulo. And we're going to be davening in the shiurs in honor of all the yidden Eretz Yisroel and around the world, and specifically the soldiers and specifically the people that are still in captivity. That Mitzvah Hashem, the world should come to its senses and help them get out speedily. We're going to focus on Yochi ben Ziva. The Mitzvah Hashem, Yochi ben Ziva should be healthy and safe. And yeah, only good. Okay. Let's go. We're coming pretty well. We're coming to the end. So we're going to finish off maamer Chaf Vav 26. I want to start 27 today. Yeah, and now it's like it's very cool to watch. Like now he's like sort of putting everything together, clearing up, finishing up. Last final messages before we finish this. Let's see. So we're talking about this, so we started talking about shtus to kedusha. This is like a new concept, the Chaf Vav, that we added. That the shtus klipa, which means doing things that irrationally foolish. There's the negative, and then there's the positive. And now in Chaf Vav, we've been discussing the positive aspect, the positive part of it. And in simple terms, one simple example we can use is well miftaim, meaning it's not like a normal thing to go on the streets and ask people if they, ask women if they have Shabbos candles and should light. That's just like logically in the way we normally work, we wouldn't just go do that. But we have this shtus in a positive way, and we go do those things. And that's a simple example. And then in our lives, we can figure out different, and another simple example, I think of, it's not so simple, but I'm saying is because remember, the way it works is there's the normal, which is calculated, processed in our minds, and then there's the irrational in the positive, was saying. So in our minds, we might tell ourselves something which is very limiting, a limiting thought, limiting ideas. Meaning limiting in the sense that, let's say we would say to ourselves, I'll give a story. This is like, I think it really encapsulates it. Basically, I was in shul on Shabbos, whatever, new shul that I'm like sort of been davening, and having for bringing, and there was a guy there that he's wanting to become Jewish. I don't know the whole story, but he's wanting to become Jewish. I know that much. And he asked us, really, his question was coming from the discussion of what's the interaction with the yid in regards to goyim? Like, how do we perceive it? What's the relationship? What are we meant to be doing? So he said to us, so there's a friend of mine, another guy and I, this other guy was, I know, whatever. I'd say he lacks a little bit of what's the word? Confidence, which is an unfortunate reality of a lot of people coming out of yeshiva, Balshuv yeshivas, some of them also. Also more specifically. So he said, he said, if you got offered, this is what he asked us. He goes, if you got offered to give a speech in a prison, meaning in a place that is all goyim, would you do it? Well, I already, on many levels, I said, for sure. Also, I worked in Aleph, yeah, for sure. And so this other guy was thinking, and so he said to him, don't, no pressure. I feel bad. I'm not, you don't have to do what he says. You do whatever you want. I just want to understand. I don't know if he understood the other person, that was trying to answer, if he understood where the question was coming from. But I knew when he was hesitating, and I already knew within him, I could see that his lack of self-confidence. And he's like, yeah. In my head, if someone is offering you to talk, Now listen, this is years of Aveda. If you had asked me when I was that guy's age, I probably would have said the same answer that he did. But now, and I would go, no problems. So in this person's mind, he was like, probably not. And so he's like, okay. I said, why? Because I knew that they were missing this is also important in communication. He was saying no for a different reason totally than this guy was asking the question. And I knew that. And so I tried to connect it to him. I said, one second, why? Why don't you want to do it? So he said, I don't feel qualified. That's what he said. So the guy, I'm like, I knew it. So the guy was like, whoa. Because he was totally confused. He thought it was because he didn't want to help a guy. And I'm like, nothing to do with the guy. It's his own issue. I said, what do you mean? I said, you can't inspire someone? Yeah. I said, Aleph teach Aleph. And like, when I was dealing for brains, it was a little bit like intense about it, but it really bothered me that like to feel that you have nothing to give. Like people are in prison, they have nothing. Anything you're gonna give is better, unless you like just make fun of them. Anything positive you say, you're gonna change their lives. I didn't feel he had enough. So this is nature. This is seichel in his world. Like he's thinking about it in his seichel. I would say that is a little bit off center, and so the shtus for him would be go do it anyway. Oh my, that's so. So there's many levels of shtus, of kedusha, also of non-kedusha. You could say maybe even see this is sort of the challenge because shtus means something that's not like logical. You're not thinking. Whereas in his mind, because of the Yetzer Hara, it's sort of transformed and moved him so negatively that the shtus in his case is to actually go do it, which is if I'm using my logic, like, hey, anything you're going to teach them positively, anything you're going to say positive, hey, you guys are good, have a great day. You did it. You already did something. Anyway, so this is what we're talking about. Shtus, and now to my shtus of Kedusha. And yeah, of course, I think mine will also be shtus. Do I feel comfortable going to a prison? And I read a story recently. The guy got stuck in there, and people coming to go chase him down. That's pretty scary. But for sure, we'll go do it. Anyway, so that's what we're talking about. This is the idea of the shtus that's coming from the Yetzer Hara. Because we're so sensitive to physicality. So what does that cause? It affects them, affects us very much, and makes us descend, meaning we become more sensitive. One of the simple examples I notice is that I know for a bacher, started to hang out with bachrim a little bit, they have less control over their lives in many senses. Like, and also, guy, if you go to a Shabbos meal, you have no control over that food. You go to whatever meal you go to, whatever food they have, that's what they give you. When you become a balabas, meaning when you're married and you have your own house, making your own Shabbos food, you have a lot more control. Now, a side issue with that is you can become a lot more picky, but you can decide what you're going to eat. Whereas when you have less control, you can hopefully more in a positive sense, you can be much more freer. So that's what we're saying, that the more you become sensitive to your physicality, the more it makes you descend, more it lowers you, but suddenly you become more picky, more difficult, and things in the physicality makes more of a difference. Well, they shouldn't make much of a difference to you. You don't go according to true logic, like we said before. But this guy, it's not true logic. And this is the shtus, this is the folly, this is the insanity or the foolishness of the other side of the negative. Which is below das. Das, logic, understanding, real connection to things in a proper way. And then there's the opposite, which is in the positive, which is shtus kedusha. Which we act not according to logic, but in a positive sense, like we talked about going on Mivtzoim, or doing something, or I would say another example of it is doing something that we think we're not shaykh to. This is the biggest shtusim that we say, I'm not shaykh for this. It's not for me. Like, I'm not on this level. So the shtus of kedusha is, yeah, I'm on this level. It doesn't mean going crazy, not sleeping, and being totally out of whack, but it means pushing ourselves to uncomfortable places we're uncomfortable with, but in a positive sense. I'm uncomfortable speaking in front of people, sharing gesicha. Let me go do it. I'm uncomfortable with saying, so let me just push myself a little bit and go. And this is above intellect. Before, when you do something negative, it's below intellect. But like in the case of this person, going to prison and speaking to them and trying to inspire them and teach them Hashem mitzvahs is l'mayl mitam v'das. Right? No, she'eino al pi das v'hergesh tivi. There's a das wrong. It's not according to the logic of the tree of knowledge, good and bad. But like we said before, that when Adam ate from the tree of knowledge, he became sensitive to himself in a negative way. We had a whole discussion about it. It was a milo, and we're saying it wasn't a milo. And before, his connection was ruchnius. I'm saying, like, meaning we come to eat. We didn't have like opinions on what we wanted. As Manas Rubin says, one time he came back from yeshiva and he asked his mother, "What's for dinner?" And she said, "Food." And he said, "I'm never going to ask such a question." And it's a very sensitive. A lot of what he talks are very sensitive. You have to be really refined, like to realize what he's saying. And what he's saying is, my mother was telling me, "Why are you asking what's for dinner? It's food. That's what it is." And this is sort of the sensitivity that we're talking about. That after the tree of knowledge, they ate, suddenly we became opinionated. What do we want to eat? Not just food that sustains us, but like taste and flavors. It's not even according to the knowledge of Kedusha. Meaning that you don't go into any calculations, even calculations that are from Kedusha take place. But he goes everything according to the soul, above Tam V'das, just going straight to the soul. And this is what my soul wants, and that's it, and let's go. Okay, I do like the example of going to the prison. Straight, it's not complicated. The question is not a big deal. Let's just go. There's a person that can affect positively. Let's go. Okay, do like it's known. In the neshama, we have two levels. We have ha'alav kerches agiluyim shal neshama shein bechinas moichin umidos. You have the revealed parts of your soul, which is your intellect and your emotions. So when we're expressing intellect and emotions on the Kedusha side, we're expressing our nefesh kiss. And when we express our emotion and intellect of non-Kedusha side, it's a nefesh b'hamis. Our base, and the second level of our neshama is who etzem neshama shemaim tam v'das, the essence of our soul, which is above reasoning. And this is two aspects of a neshama in general terms. Of course, there's more details, but in general, there's two. There's one, the way it's expressed itself in our lives, in intellect and emotion, and there's the higher one. Now, Adam Rishon, before he sinned, it was which one was revealed? His whole delving into godliness. That's all what it was. This is from the intellect national kiss. Which we revealed to him very much. So by Adam Rishon, his mind was totally consumed with godliness. Before this is of course before the sin. You have nowadays, we also have some people in neshama that are like this. They didn't go down so far from their level. And their godly soul is shining within them. And have a knowledge in godliness. Das means not just a knowledge, but a connection to godliness. Godliness is not just an idea, but it's they feel it, they understand it and they feel it. And this is what they're constantly working on. And they have no sensitivity to the physicality of this world. Just like, and think about it, for us, it would be the opposite. I mean, just like, you tell someone, "Oh, you know the difference between this food and that food, or this experience and that experience, this car and that car." We have very strong emotional opinions, meaning we really understand the difference. Eating some food that was cooked, a piece of steak that was cooked well versus a piece of steak that was cooked not well. We understand the difference very much. And it makes a very big difference to us. You have a chewy piece of steak that it's hard to bite. It's very not enjoyable. Whereas you have one that's cooked perfectly, it's like, what an experience. So that's what we have. So these neshamas that we're talking about, they don't have that experience at all in the physicality. They have that exact same experience, but in spirituality. But physicality, that doesn't make a difference to them which piece of meat you give them. It's all the same. even though they're not on the same level as Adam Rishon, as he was before the sin, he didn't feel any food at all. That's not to the extent we're talking about. They don't have so much of a feeling of God. It doesn't get them excited. Physicality, and when they eat whatever it is. They don't care. And I'm sure you probably met someone that seems to be less involved, less consumed into their food. And they don't get convinced and pulled by the Yetzer Hara. And according to what we said before, that they understand the truth, that they have this it's a clarity, it's clarity, that they see things, and they understand what's true, and that godliness is true, and that's important, and they're sensitive to that, and that makes them less sensitive to the physicality, and it doesn't bother them. For us, every little change in weather makes a big difference. We look outside, it's a good day today, it's not a good day. If it's a bad day, it's going to ruin my day. And we're very sensitive to the physicality. So by them, and this is sort of the goal, is to switch that sensitivity of physicality to spirituality. And suddenly, and it's like these little things, it makes a difference. Kitzer. Elikim nasan la'adam hergesh eliki. Hashem gave us a sensitivity to godliness. Hashem mitzad zeh tzarich leida shetovasoi ha'amiti. Therefore, we should know that the true good for us, he b'torah mitzvahs. We should be sensitive to that. We should feel that. That should be something that we're very connected with. And the convincing and the turning away and the pulling us away from this, and the Yetzer Hara is totally false and bad. And this is what we all deal with this. We all have this. The point of learning this is not chas v'shalom to put us down, but it's to make us sensitive to recognizing it, recognizing what it looks like. We can use the Yetzer Hara and the way we're convinced and way it's important to us, the food or whatever example it is that we use, and we say, that sensitivity is why I should be sensitive to godly ideas and to learning. It's like meaning if we go a day without eating, it's not going to happen. Unless it's a fast day, we're going to make sure to eat. Do I have the same sensitivity with learning, with connecting to Hashem? So every day I feel I need to connect to Hashem, and so that using that, seeing it how it works out in the physical, putting it into the spiritual. However, hahergesh ativi be siba aschet etadas shemeya l'shtus Yetzer Hara, but that feeling of sensitivity of the nature of the physicality, because of the confusion that came about of the tree of eating from the tree of knowledge, shemeya l'shtus Yetzer Hara, causes us to hear to the foolishness of the Yetzer Hara. Shalamata mitamadas, which is below reasoning. Whereas the shtus of kedusha we talked about is above tamadas, above reasoning, going above logic, just like we say to ourselves, I have to do this, and whatever it is, above logic. I don't want to take too much time, so it's above logic. And then there's those that their godly soul is shining within them, and they have that sensitivity to godliness, and that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to push ourselves to be a little more sensitive to godliness and a little less sensitive to the physicality. Okay, so whatever. I don't have my 15 pillows, and I don't have my perfectly cooked steak. But if I eat this, it's going to help me have a better day. Let me do it. Anyway, everyone should have an amazing day, and tomorrow we start Chaf Zayin of Chaf Ches. Two more. Mitzvah Hashem, I'll finish it this week. Everyone should have an amazing day.